Hong Kong stood as one of the most open and dynamic cities in the world, a place where the rule of law, economic freedom, and cultural diversity thrived under a unique model. One country, two systems. For decades, this city of 7.5 million people served as a financial bridge between communist China and the liberal West. But today, that bridge is cracking, and some say it's already broken. To understand how Hong Kong reached this point, we have to go back in time. In 1997, Britain handed Hong Kong back to China after over 150 years of colonial rule. The arrangement, enshrined in the Sino-British Joint Declaration, promised Hong Kong a high degree of autonomy for at least 50 years. It would retain its capitalist system, independent judiciary, and civil liberties, including freedom of speech, assembly, and the press. This compromise gave rise to the phrase, "one country, two systems." For years, the system worked, at least on the surface. Hong Kong boomed. Foreign companies flooded in. Wall Street banks built Asian headquarters there. It was easier to do business in Hong Kong than in mainland China, and more legally secure. US law recognized this distinction, granting Hong Kong special trading privileges and visa arrangements separate from the People's Republic of China. But cracks began to form in the 2010s. As China's Communist Party under Xi Jinping grew more assertive, it began tightening its grip over Hong Kong. Protests erupted in 2014, demanding democratic reforms. They returned in 2019, this time in massive waves, triggered by a controversial extradition bill that would allow suspects to be sent to mainland China for trial. Millions marched in the streets. The message was clear. Hong Kong wanted to protect its autonomy. Beijing responded with increasing severity. The tipping point came in 2020 with the imposition of the National Security Law, passed unilaterally by China's National People's Congress. The law criminalized acts of secession, subversion, terrorism, and collusion with foreign forces, terms that critics say are so vague they can be applied to virtually anyone. The reaction from the international community was swift. The United States, under the Trump administration, declared that Hong Kong was no longer autonomous and began revoking its preferential trade status. Goods labeled "Made in Hong Kong" were now treated as Chinese products, subject to the same tariffs imposed during the US-China trade war. This wasn't just symbolic, it was strategic. The US had drawn a line. If China absorbed Hong Kong politically, it would no longer enjoy economic privileges. Beijing, in turn, accused Washington of weaponizing trade and of trying to cripple Hong Kong's economy. Chinese officials described the move as economic strangulation. They claimed the US was intentionally trying to destroy Hong Kong's role as a neutral financial hub. Some called it economic warfare, designed to isolate China's access to global capital. And the damage was real. Foreign direct investment began to dry up. Over the next few years, multinational firms started relocating regional headquarters to Singapore, Tokyo, and Seoul. Even traditional Hong Kong stalwarts in finance and shipping began exploring options elsewhere. Local businesses also felt the blow. Family-run shops, logistics firms, consultancies, and legal practices that relied on Hong Kong's open international status suddenly found themselves isolated by tariffs and trapped in a more uncertain legal environment. Entrepreneurs, once proud to operate in one of the freest economies in the world, faced a new reality, one in which political risk had become part of everyday business. Beyond the business community, the social impact has been equally profound. Young professionals began leaving in large numbers. In the years following the national security law, applications for foreign visas surged. Families started looking for ways to emigrate to Canada, the UK, Australia, and beyond. Many of them cited not just the law itself, but the feeling that Hong Kong was no longer theirs. Universities lost academic staff, newsrooms shuttered under pressure, independent NGOs dissolved or moved abroad. Even among those who stayed, many say the city's spirit has changed. The sense of vibrancy, debate, and civil energy that once defined Hong Kong is slowly fading under layers of control and surveillance. And with each wave of change, Beijing tightens its hold. Infrastructure projects now aim to link Hong Kong more closely with the Greater Bay Area, turning the city into a southern extension of China's megacity network. There is increasing political loyalty tests for public servants and teachers. Mandarin is emphasized more than Cantonese. Pro-Beijing parties now dominate the Legislative Council after electoral changes designed to eliminate opposition. Critics say these steps are all part of a larger vision, the full integration of Hong Kong into the mainland. Not just in name or theory, but in practice, politics, and identity. Still, Beijing insists that one country, two systems remains intact. Officials argue that the system has simply been improved to safeguard national sovereignty and ensure long-term prosperity. They point to infrastructure developments, economic growth in the Greater Bay Area, and efforts to turn Hong Kong into a tech and innovation hub. But many observers are skeptical. Without legal independence, without freedom of expression, and without international trust, can Hong Kong truly function as it once did? Singapore is already stepping into the vacuum. The city-state, long seen as Asia's more controlled counterpart to Hong Kong, is attracting capital, talent, and regional headquarters at a rapid pace. Tokyo is gaining ground too, offering a politically stable environment with global connectivity. Even smaller hubs like Taipei and Kuala Lumpur are seeing new interest. Hong Kong's fall from grace isn't just a local tragedy, it's a geopolitical shift, a signal that the rules of globalization are changing. That political alignment may increasingly determine who trades with whom. That special status no longer protects you when great powers collide. So what happens next? If current trends continue, Hong Kong may become just another Chinese city, wealthier and more connected than most, but politically indistinguishable. The once bold experiment of one country, two systems will quietly dissolve, a relic of a more hopeful time in Sino-Western relations. But perhaps there is still a chance to redefine Hong Kong's role. Some suggest a middle path, where Hong Kong reinvents itself as a regional innovator, or a tech hub deeply integrated with China's industrial goals. Others believe that only external pressure, through trade deals, diplomacy, or sanctions, can keep Beijing in check. And then, of course, there are those who've already given up hope. Regardless of which side you take, one thing is clear: Hong Kong's future will no longer be decided solely by its people. It's now a question of geopolitics, strategy, and power. The story of Hong Kong is no longer just about one city. It's about the world we're entering. A world of great power rivalries, shifting alliances, and uncertain freedoms. And so we must ask, has Hong Kong already been lost? Or is this simply the beginning of a new, more complicated chapter?